Tonight on Joy News Prime, the Northern Regional Security Council says it is deploying more security officials to Yendi in order to contain any further escalations that has so far claimed 8 lives.
One of the measures that I have already indicated is to keep a police detachment here to make sure that they give them the necessary assurance that they are safe here.
And in our Living Standard series, we'll tell you how some casual laborers in the construction industry are coping in this time of harsh economic crisis.
Sometimes we can spend a week here without getting a job. If you are lucky, you can get to work for the whole week.
We have to be cautious with our spending because you are uncertain about when you get your next job. Some of us can't even feed ourselves.
So how many items can 100 cedis buy on your groceries list? We share a personal story of a mother of 5 who now needs at least 300 cedis for decent grocery shopping.
Sometimes I do bring 100 cedis to the market, but today I brought 300. Even that 300, it will not help us. It will not be sufficient for me to buy anything. They have increased everything, even oil. The other time I bought a liter of oil, 12 cedis. Now it's 250.
Economic gloom will not last. Have hopes of better times soon. President Akufo-Addo assures.
I ask respectfully, all of you, to continue to have hope of great times soon for our country. The government is working hard to restore our nation back onto the path of progress and prosperity.
And later at 8, I'll bring you Prime Business and Prime Sports, but Charles will bring you business first. Charles, what's happening in business?
Well, coming up in business, of course, government to increase its stake in oil and gas concessions after so many foreign entities abandoned them due to severe economic situations.
GNPC, if you watch this year, has also taken steps to increase our interest in controlling interest in some of these blocks, especially where foreign companies are seeking to exit from the Ghana market.
Thanks for staying with us here on the Joy News channel. This is your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. Please stay for details. And you're welcome to the program. My name is Blessed Sogah. Tonight, the Northern Regional Security Council says it is deploying more men to contain any further escalations in Yendi municipality. Currently, residents of Zankoli and Kongkong are on high alert after unknown gunmen robbed and killed a man within the area. A few hours ago, the Northern Regional Minister led the Security Council on a fact-finding mission in the area. Al-Hassan Shani Shaibu said on the polls that a meeting will be held to decide on the way forward. In the meantime, security personnel will be stationed on the grounds to contain the situation.
It was a moment of silent grief when various narrations were being told of how the shooting incident happened at Zankoli, where 8 people were killed and 4 seriously injured. The Northern Regional Minister, Alhaji Sani Al-Hassan Shaibu, had led a delegation of RECSEC members to the community to assess the situation and strategize to nip it in the bud. The Northern Regional Minister told the media investigations have commenced and appealed to the community members to aid investigations with information.
And 8 bodies were recovered, some of them bent, and 4 seriously injured who are still in hospital. The bodies have since been deposited at the Tamale Teaching Hospital morgue. But what surprises the chief is that they do not know about any provocation that would have led to this incident. The Fulanis themselves who were affected, this old man who had spoken lost 3 of his sons. This incident cannot go unpunished, but we can only punish crime when we are able to identify the perpetrators. The laws of this country does not allow us to commit crime. So if you commit crime, The law must catch up with you.
The minister said the people have lost everything. Therefore, temporary shelter and food will be provided.
We can all see that in the state that the Fulanis are now is very precarious. One, feeding is going to be a problem. Sleeping, even changing, there are children here. Changing the diapers of children would be a problem. And so many other things. They are now thinking about their own safety. And that is why one of the measures that I have already indicated is to keep a police detachment here to make sure that they give them the necessary assurance that they are safe here. We would look for tents for them. We would look for food aid for them because the numbers are great. And we need to do so many things, even health-wise. As we speak now, most of them are traumatized.
The chief of Zakoli, Zakolana Abukari Andani, said he had to bring the displaced to his community and provide them with shelter.
I divided some of the Fulanis into the houses of my elders where they slept and they were fed till this morning. Nothing is left. Nothing is left. The most saddening thing is the babies, clothless, going nakedly. As for food, we are able to support them.
Some of the eyewitnesses narrated what they saw.
Yesterday around 1 o'clock, that he was at this mat where he heard noise. When he came out, he saw that people were approaching the house. So he also went there. All of a sudden he heard a gunshot. So he right there and
mi pie ho bai na me hu se nipa bi fa ha atumrika ayo ye hi wa tumrika afa ha si akọ oho area nti me bisana se den wan kahi nti okọ no me hu se akira ha o ma si jago me hu se wa ajago ashija wa ha so.
Alhaji Bello has lost 3 sons. He watched on in silence whilst the various narrations are being told.
Well, so let's get you the latest on this matter for you. My colleague Martina Bugri has been following all day and joins me now on phone from the northern region. Martina, what's the latest? We understand that scores of persons have been displaced. Have we put a figure to it, and what's the latest there?
For now, we are unable to put a figure on the number of people who are displaced. But we do know that the number of people who have died now is 8. The chief had told us earlier that it was 9 o'clock. It was 9, but the police have confirmed that 8 people lost their lives. We are also told that over 55 homes were touched during the attack, and several motorbikes stolen and some destroyed.
65 homes at least, that's the figure that we have. But how about the security arrangements? We understand that more men were to be deployed to the area. Is that being done as we speak?
Yes, more men have been deployed in the area. Some are stationed in the communities that these attacks took place, and some, we are told, will be patrolling the area to ensure that people who are even coming in would know that, would feel the presence of the security in the area.
And what interim measures are in place now for the displaced?
For now, they are being housed by the Dagomba community in the area. And so the chief told us that he shared their families to each home, and they were supposed to provide them with meals and shelter them. But we are being told that NADMO is picking data and would be going there soon with relief items and tents as well to house these people whilst they look for a permanent solution.
Martina Bugri joining us live from the northern region. Well, they are skilled laborers who arrive at the Kumasi Labour Department every day to wait for people to employ their services. For a day's work, most of these casual construction workers receive between 80 and 120 cedis. But with the rising cost of building materials, construction works have actually slowed down. In our Living Standard series, Nanaya Ojima spent a morning with the workers to find out how they are coping.
Jumano and Koyi. My no, but now I'm corner. Also, Yakufia, when you.
This early morning, the streets of Asafo are yet to come alive. Offices and shops in the area remain closed, but the frontage of the Kumasi Labour Office is full of casual construction workers who come here daily, awaiting patronage of their services.
Labour Office, no. Obi batiment na 1 week kura unkwajuma. Obi wa.
Sometimes we can spend a week here without getting a job. If you are lucky, you can get to work for the whole week.
1 week. Wow, Mati, Jumano, and Koyi.
Alhaji is a popular steel bender. He is also skilled in painting and provides any of the services as demanded. Alhaji left a construction company over a decade ago to hawk his services on the streets. In the past weeks, he managed to access services for 2 days in a week. This earned him 200 cedis to cater for himself, 2 wives and 6 children. My wives are working, but I am the one taking care of all of them. I have a family in the north who call whenever there is an emergency, and I have to respond. Amos Boache has been frequenting the Labour Office for over 20 years. The past weeks have been tough. He can only access a day of service in the week. Meanwhile, his transportation fare to the Labour Office has increased from 6 to 10 cedis daily. He has had to be strategic in his spending on food to save some money to take care of the home.
We have to be cautious with our spending because you are uncertain about when you get your next job. Some of us can't even feed ourselves. We depend on God.
John Mensah has been engaged once for his carpentry services in the week. This earned him 120 cedis. Surviving on the amount has been tough for him. He is hoping for an additional 20 cedis to make up for the increase in transportation costs.
As I said, you pay capital for no, you pay 1.4 AG. I say, Messi for no, more than 1.3. No,
we want an increase in our charges. At least 140 Ghana cedis for carpentry work is fine. Sometimes we are forced to take old charges because the customers are not ready for the new prices.
The more we had Madindia, after I say to Muleban,
The men prefer hawking their services on the streets to employment in construction firms, but the streets are increasingly turning expensive. With a persistent increase in commodity prices, these construction workers would love to increase the service charge, but the fear is that their services may no longer be patronized by the populace. For Joy News, Nana Ojima, Kumasi.
Economy, how many items can 100 cities buy on your groceries list? Some traders in Accra say inflation is impacting heavily on the prices of their wares and driving away their customers. The Ghana Statistical Service announced inflation figures for the month of March, putting the rate at a 10-year high of 19.4%. And we know that at the Agbogloshi market here in Accra, it is not difficult to establish the impact. My colleague Michael Niashale has been there and now reports.
Any man cry and Yabia Fonse condemn on any boy a day. It is a say no almost so my dear and no more tomb. Yan so Tony at the bar, Yabahan so far, ni price in Nib and Quai, a low.
It's Thursday at Agbogloshi market here in Accra. Hundreds of residents looking for bargain on food items visit here for their groceries and other items. This afternoon is no different, as busy as always.
You see, you turn 30 Ghana with you. You better than you I'm going Ghana 4.4, 4.2, 4.3. Be you discover cry. And we can talk to me that can answer.
Prices are up many times, and in some cases beyond the means of these patrons. Inflation hit a 10-year high in March 2022, and in the markets, the evidence is not difficult to come by. Traders say they are feeling the pinch because their clients struggle to pay even if they are willing to buy. Elizabeth has been selling in this market for years.
Eti ono ba wo akwafa ba na e bia 100 Ghana na oba o se mema we te Ghana no wate usika so ade no so ade esei wan fa ma na be sei na wo akwafa ba ye no wo aboka sa na te e na ono so kofie nso a ni to ne nya papa se ye nto ade to nkoso eti ne chese nipa se ye hu amane e wi ase e wo se ne ye bra ye hu amane ya tete tia na ye 50 pesos this year 2 cedi ye nya bi mponto wo be bra ansa na wanya bi dia ba ene mpo na nyame adoma nya kakra dia ba. Why you not get 20 Ghana? I say 28.
Cooking oil.
Yeah, can 20 Ghana? Say 28. And we need 17. Say 25. I'm a quiet seaway. I'm a corner 10 city. Say 20 Ghana. And Torwa can Torwa 15. Say 25. It's in your quite high. You're quite crying. You know, shady and go. But okay, I need a board about what the Bahas cry when you be man.
Florence Ambega is a mother of 5. She's come to Agbogloshi to shop for her home, but her pocket has been impacted heavily by inflation. All she's got is 300 cedis to pay for the increased food items aside the hike in her transport fare.
Things are so difficult for us that we cannot even bear. Sometimes I do bring 100 cedis to the market, but today I brought 300. Even that 300, it will not help us. It will not be sufficient for me to buy anything. The reason, because when you go, they have increased everything. Even oil. The other time I bought a liter of oil, 12 cedis. Now it's 250, 25 cedis rather. And even a gallon of Kufor's gallon is now 4 something. Why formerly we have been buying 320. It's difficult for us. It's too difficult for us. If you have a kid about 5, how are you going to feed them? So we are suffering. We are suffering.
The traders are desperate. They are afraid of what lies ahead of them and are demanding that government rolls out some interventions to bring some relief to them.
kakran so ni obukwa kofa oblenkwa ade e 1 cedi no be kwa na feri e 5 cedi ade pesa mo 50 and 40 so 20 sa e so sika
nti at the end of the day we are den
sa na beton
am 40 no
80 cedi no the one to so esi we pro nti say o hwema no say 55 cedi no be yi wo so na we yi ama na we hwema no.
For these vegetable sellers and buyers, they can only hope the situation gets better soon. For Joy News, Michael Ashali.
Well, so have hope of great time soon. That's according to President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who is giving assurances that government is working hard to overcome Ghana's economic challenge. The country is currently experiencing a surge in inflation, with the Ghana Statistical Service pegging the figures at a record 19.4% as of March 2022. However, in his televised Easter message, the president is urging Ghanaians to have hopes of a better time.
In the face of the current difficulties confronting our nation, I admonish all of us to be inspired and guided by this promise of salvation. I ask respectfully all of you to continue to have hope of great times soon for our country. Government is working hard to restore our nation back onto the path of progress and prosperity, a path on which our nation was charting before the onset of COVID-19, whose negative consequences have been further exacerbated by the effects of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. All these difficulties notwithstanding, I'm confident that with creativity, enterprise, hard work, perseverance, and unity, we, the Ghanaian people, shall overcome, for our future is bright.
Also, as Ghanaians heading to a festive weekend, the president is reminding us of the need to adhere to the COVID-19 protocols.
Fellow Ghanaians, this year's Easter will be the first in 3 years that we're going to have the opportunity to celebrate fully, following the lifting of virtually all the restrictions government imposed to help win the fight against COVID-19. Our infection rate is low, with only 32 active cases recorded as of Monday, 11th April. There are no critical or severe cases, and our treatment centers are empty. I appeal to each and every one of you, notwithstanding the lifting of the restrictions and the good news about infections, to continue to live responsibly and safely so we can all play our part in building Mother Ghana. In this season, let us drive carefully on the roads and keep the nation in our prayers at all times. So let us again enjoy our Easter conventions, parties and picnics, and the traditional Kwau Easter festivities, which I shall be patronizing as usual. I wish you a happy Easter once more, and may the celebration of the crucifixion and resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ give birth to a new season of faith, hope, growth, prosperity, reconciliation, and sacrifice for everybody in our beloved country and in the world.
Any decision that denies the citizenry of representation is a travesty of justice. That's the reaction of former President John Dramani Mahama, who is wondering why James Jachikwesin has been restrained by the Supreme Court from carrying out himself as MP for Asin North. In a Facebook post a couple of hours ago, the 2020 presidential candidate of the NDC asked whether or not the substantive case of the matter relating to holding a dual citizenship at the time of the election has been predetermined by the courts, and you have that on your screens right now, except reading that I cannot understand how an MP can be restrained from carrying out his duties when the substantive case to give finality to the question of his legitimacy has not been determined. Or is it the case that the outcome of the substantive case has been predetermined against him? The representation of the people is at the heart of our democracy. Any decision that denies the citizenry of representation is a travesty of justice and an affront to our democracy. John Mahama there. Meanwhile, the Deputy Minister for Justice, Alfred Yeboah, says his office, pursuant to the ruling of the High Court in Cape Coast, has held the view that the Member of Parliament for Assin North was in breach of the law by continuously turning himself up in Parliament. Speaking on PM Express on the Joy News channel, Alfred Yeboah said the plaintiff, Michael Nimfa, did not err in the law by seeking an injunction from the Supreme Court against the embattled Member of Parliament.
Our position has been that there is a subsisting High Court judgment from Cape Coast. That High Court judgment was appealed against. When they filed the appeal, they filed a motion for stay of execution. Because there was a stay of execution, there was no way you could restrain from going to Parliament until and unless that application was determined. And we of the humble view that insofar as there was a substantive judgment and he continued to be in Parliament, he was breaching a constitutional provision.
So this judgment you referred to again is the High Court judgment?
The High Court judgment.
Okay.
And this appeal that they filed was struck out for want of prosecution, for non-compliance. And that appeal that was struck out together with other cases like the motion for stay of execution. So technically and legally, there was nothing holding any other institution from either restraining him or compelling him to do an activity.
Okay.
And for that matter, we were of the view that Supreme Court was seized with the jurisdiction to determine whether to grant the application or not to grant it. But insofar as Supreme Court had the jurisdiction to entertain an application, we were of the view that that application ought to be granted, and it was granted. It's true that the plaintiff in that case has the right to proceed against Mr. Kwesen for flouting an order of the High Court. But that does not in any way also stop such a plaintiff from pursuing a writ at the Supreme Court, which is a different matter, and also asking for an injunction to be granted. So far as we are concerned, the plaintiff had the right to be in the Supreme Court by initiating a process and also asking the Supreme Court to grant an application in respect of an injunction.
So we take a break here on Joy News Prime. We'll return with some more stories. Please stay. Hawkers in Accra have been giving the end of the Easter festive period to vacate the streets. There's also a continuous restriction on operations of tricycles, of their movements in the area and also on the Tema motorway and around the central business district. These are parts of the measures to decongest the central business area by authorities in the city. Greater Accra Regional Minister Henry Quartey in a media briefing said the move is to ensure discipline and any defaulter will be dealt with according to the law.
Restrictions on the movement of tricycles, otherwise known as Aboboya, on the motorway is still in force. All those who violate these directives will be arrested, and per the bylaws of Operation Clean Your Frontage, they will be fined, and in some cases convicted in addition to the fine. 2, it has come to our notice that the other bits of tricycle, which is known as Pragia, is beginning to gain, if you like, traction or attention in the Greater Accra region. The Regional Coordinating Council wishes to send a strong signal to businesses and operators of this pragia that operations of pragia in the CBD will not be allowed. All motorcycle riders and pillion riders shall wear the appropriate gears, i.e. reflective jackets, helmets, etc. All motorcycles shall not carry more than 2 persons on the motorbike. During these Easter festivities, the police will arrest all those who violate these directives. We are also saying that motorbike riders shall observe all the traffic regulations in Accra. Red means stop. It doesn't mean cross. So if you're a motor rider, you get to a traffic intersection and there's a red light and you cross, the police will arrest you and prosecute you. After the Easter holidays, starting next week, all those who sell on the streets should move off the streets, go into the markets, or the designated areas that has been agreed upon by the MMDAs with the traders to do so. If they continue to sell on the streets, they will not only be removed, but this time around be prosecuted.
Well, I think you also residents of Pichi number 1 and 2 in the Amansie West District of the Ashanti region have embarked on a demonstration to register their anger over the poor nature of roads in that part of the country. Now, the angry residents blocked the main road from one of the adjoining communities and towns amid burning of tires. There's more in this report.
The demonstrators started from Pichi number 2 to number 1. This young lady, Comforter Mankwa, leads the demonstrators with a megaphone furiously registering disappointment against the government for abandoning the road construction at election 2020. According to her, the communities are tired of the ordeal they endure plying the poor roads.
Go there, from Petit to Antwerp. Like we don't even know why. All the question we're asking ourselves is why? Thank you. Why? Up to date, up to now, imagine the food we eat. The road, my shoe is even an example. When even you dress, the most annoying and painful thing is when you dress and then you are going out. And you meet all your friends, they'll ask you, where are you coming from? You just have to lie. This is not a village, oh. Petit from Petit to Kumasi, 3 cities also. So why? Why are we still being treated like villagers? Why are they treating us this way? All our questions you're asking today peacefully, and our hand is in our hand. We are begging. Why? We need to know why we are still under this thing. We are expecting a good and a better road. We want development in this town. We are part of Ghana. We vote.
Among the demonstrators were women and children who held placards with inscriptions, Pichi deserves better. Where is our share of the national cake, amongst others?
Yes, it's time you remember who quite to see a bayama. You're two baby, you're one of sheep, you're a family. I've had a yakwa, and foot and to what Madame Mr. Quato idea, Mr. Fana go on there. Idea bet to work as a family go as I finish. A quite a mamma baba and mama, who said any. Then you have a hospital in foot or so, and I qua. Oh, boy, at one mam's in foot on quiet, and foot on the queen.
But you might, you call my Ghana. You be do a baby, I say, you're good to the quine. Yes, I tried that you have a good. As a machine of Nasi, that you driver for a while, you can. So, tells about a cherry knap, a chair out of the floor. Well, this is about to come out crying into a Thomas. Yes, sir, and I to say, yes, what it's a 1 time, and it's a petty number 2, petty number 1.
The demonstrators trekked from one community to the other, blocking roads and burning ties to register their protest in their bid to get the roads fixed. The assembly member of the area, William Kusi, says not a single road in the area has been asphalted.
Recently, the government came out with a speech that 10,875 kilometers of roads have been constructed within Ghana. And now when you come to Amansie West, Mantum Kwanta constituency, None, even 10 centimeters of road haven't been constructed here. Are you not part of Ghana? These people were here before the election 2019. That the roads they are coming to construct it. Yes, we all agreed. They came after the election, all the cars and everything went away. We don't know those people who came to pick them. A time came that we even seized them from picking these machines, and even it turns to a fight that the people have not been paid. So if those people haven't been paid, how will they be able to continue constructing the road? So we are calling the government to come to our aid now. We are tired with the accidents. We are tired with the dust. Look at the people around here. Those people with the stores cannot even operate because of the dust and other things. The government should come to our aid now. Now we need him.
Ewuku Malik's report read to you.
Let's take you up north. Pupils of the Wantungun Tunteya Primary School located in the northern region are not happy to be writing the same exam with pupils from well-endowed schools. 12-year-old Napari Suleiman could not hide her frustration about the phenomenon when she spoke to our northern regional correspondent on the poor state of her school. Martina Bugri tells the story of how the Wantungun Tunteya Primary School is housed under two trees in the community.
You know, those who sit in class and we those who sit under trees cannot be the same. When the sun comes up, we run home and they sit in their classrooms to learn. So when we meet to write exams, they will pass better than us.
This is Napari Sulemana, a primary 5 pupil of the Wantungun Tunteya Primary School. He is one of the 193 children from the becoming nurses, teachers, among other professions. But it comes with challenges each day, where the weather determines whether you can fulfill your dream.
The sun directly falls on us with the heat, making us not able to learn. So we are forced to run home. We close at 1:30 p.m., but we go home before the time because of the weather. Whenever it rains, we are forced to go home because there's no classroom. And if we return after the rain, the place will be wet and we can't sit down. Meanwhile, our colleagues in other schools with structures are learning.
School infrastructure plays a critical role in determining the quality of learning, but that cannot be said of rural communities who solely depend on government schools, which sometimes come with classrooms in a pitiful state, or in some cases no classroom. Wantungun Tunteya Primary School is one of such schools. Established in 2009 by a U.S. Peace Corps volunteer, Anna Fred, it was to teach children the basics so that they can be able to grasp and join the upper primary. It was later absorbed by the Ghana Education Service in 2013. But since the takeover, the school is yet to receive just a single infrastructure. The assemblyman for the area, Isahaku Abdul Karim, said his predecessor had written several letters to the assembly for help. That is yet to yield any result. Other than that, he has also written to the assembly.
I wrote a letter to the DC and I was not getting a response, so I later asked the PTA and the SMC chairman for us to go and meet the DC personally. So when we went and met him, the DC admitted us and he directed me to rewrite another letter.
The district chief executive for Tolong, Hussein Salifu Isi Fumosi, has assured that the school will receive the attention it deserves when the assembly's budget is approved.
I made sure that that school was being captured in that composite budget, so that when the budget is approved for us, we will be in a position to put up better classroom accommodation for them. In any case, sometimes we have other projects that might come on our way, which is not directly under our composite budget. So I have it in mind that if we have any early project outside the composite budget, I will make sure that we go to the place and put a befitting classroom for them.
These children are supposed to have the basics and go up to the upper primary to write the final examination with their colleagues in well-endowed schools. The question they've been posing is how will they be able to cope when they get there? For Joy News, Martina Bugri reporting.
Some residents in the Ashanti region have expressed mixed reaction to the 2021 Public Safety and Crime Report. The report placed the Ashanti region on top of 200 murder cases recorded in Ghana. While some share their experience as victims of crime, others believe the region is too peaceful to have such a record. Live FM's Emmanuel Bright Kweku engaged some residents in Kumasi.
According to the Bureau of Public Safety, the Ashanti region recorded 23% of all homicide cases recorded across the country last year. A rather disturbing development from this report is that more than 80% of all violence cases recorded in the country occurred outside the homes of these victims. We took to the street to find out from residents in Kumasi what they make of this report and what they suggest could be done to reduce the statistics.
Just yesterday, someone was robbed of his phone here. The robbers even stabbed him. We can't even sleep peacefully. We are even scared to speak to strangers because we can't tell what they may do to us. The government should increase the number of security personnel.
Ashanti region said
We, the women, are more afraid. We can't walk alone at night. I quickly rush home after work.
I am not scared because the region has not recorded any murder cases I know of.
I've not heard of any murder case in the region, but people have to be vigilant.
Na ebia hu a eyahwe
timamone a mo Ashanti region de ha adwen kakra pa fisa wudie de eba ba bia wo ade a eye.
I am worried about the report. We should be careful the times we leave home.
Before say no ye den ebeboa wo he ba bia wo pia kono time ne ade no hwe no wi a ansa na aban no beboa yen fa security ne sa ne mana before say beboa yen.
And thanks for staying with us here on Joy News Prime. Still to come, we'll tell you about songstress Jackie, who's disclosed to Joy Entertainment that she's never thought of doing music professionally.
I never had it in mind I was going to do music as a profession.
Well, so I always get excited when he turns up because I definitely know that there's something that will come up in the world of entertainment. And we're talking about the man, Ibrahim Benbako, who's joining us for the latest in the world of showbiz.
Where are you going to be this Easter?
There's a lot even happening in-house, which I'm excited about.
Good,
so,
because I was going to tell you to be here on Sunday. Because you know on-air personalities are cooking as part of the
we need to do all of the magic. I'm doing that with IB.
what are you cooking? What do you want to cook?
I'm doing some banku and some...
I know it's your favorite. I know it's your favorite. That's cooking. I don't know about it. Well, let's get straight to entertainment. And songstress Jackie has revealed that she never thought of doing music professionally. Well, she's an amazing talent. She is the Afro songstress, and she had the hit track Forever, what she revealed on Showbiz A to Z when they were talking about the I mean, the rough edges and the ins and outs of the music industry here in Ghana. And that was when she revealed that she never thought of doing music professionally. She only was doing it as a hobby, but it turned to be professional after she got to know that her mother had seen something good in her.
Never had it in mind I was going to do music as a profession. When I was, yeah. So when I was a child, you know how everybody wants to be a doctor, a lawyer, anything that they could just think of.
Yeah.
But when I got into secondary school, heading to the university, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to be a business mogul. Anything that's just going to bring me the dollars and the pounds and all of that. Yeah, but I never had in mind I was going to do music by profession because I never paid attention to how different my voice was. My mom was always making me perform in front of her friends whenever they come to the house. They'd be like, oh, Fred, perform it, dance, do this, do you understand? And I never paid attention to the fact that she saw something that I wasn't seeing.
Well, you know,
yeah,
they say God has a way of answering prayers in so many forms. Okay. Maybe she wanted to be a business person. Now you're doing music, which is still business some way, somehow.
What you see, another thing it comes is it depends on you, the musician. Do you see what you're doing as business, or do you just see it as a show? So that is where it comes in. Yeah, she wanted to be a business mogul.
It's still not over.
You think it's still not far-fetched? Eh?
She could still give it a try. I mean, do music on the side, business on the side. Yeah.
Time consuming. Okay. Well, gospel songstress Rosa J also believes that if it is her time to win a VGMA award or 3 Music Award, nothing is ever going to come in between herself and that particular category she's supposed to win. You know, this year marks the 23rd edition of the VGMA, and she did not have any nomination. Now she was on the show, on the morning show on Hit FM, hosted by Doreen Avio, who sat in for Andy Dosty, and that is the name of the show, Daybreak Hits. And Doreen asked if she wasn't worried about not even getting into any category, not nominated for any category, and she said, oh, no. As long as she is doing her business, her focus is rather to touch lives. And if the time comes for her to be nominated and to win an award, she doesn't believe that nothing is ever going to stand in between herself and the award.
All I would say is that all you need to do in the very first instance is to do music and do what you are called to do. I always say that the award scheme has been there 23 years ago, even before I came into the industry. Maybe one day when I decide not to do music and even become the next female president of Ghana, the VGMA will still be there. So it doesn't change anything. It doesn't take away the gift that I carry. There are a lot of amazing singers out there who have impacted lives and still haven't gotten awards. But they are still doing their work. Last year, I got about 21 awards. Ooh. I was nominated for 3 Music Award last year. I wasn't this year. National Gospel Music Award, I was nominated last year. I didn't get it. I was nominated for various categories, like the Goa Awards, which I won, 21. And I feel that people are seeing the good work that I'm doing with time. I think the only ones that I haven't gotten is the 3 Music and the VGMA. But apart from that, the various categories we have all over Ghana, by the grace of God, I've won.
But you're hopeful?
Oh, I will get there when the time, when the time is right. I've been following people like the Dinah Hamiltons and the Celestines. They didn't start today. They started years ago. It's a process. When the time is right, there is nothing that will bypass you. My dad always say that all you need to do is to do what is right at the right time and be hopeful. The Bible said when the Lord appeared to Moses through the burning bush, he had something in his hand, which was the rod. And that was what God used him, Moses to do his miracles. What will I have when the time is right? So I have to work and work hard. So at the end of the day, when I'm nominated, there are people who even are nominated, they don't win. What about that?
It's in due process.
Yeah. When the time is right.
When the time is right, nothing's going to stand me between her and award.
So it's a wrap for Joy News Prime here on the Joy News channel. Stay with us, don't go anywhere. My name is Blessed Sogah. We have updates for you on myjoyonline.com. Next is Prime Business with Charles.